Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast. As promised, today I'm talking about communication. Why is communication so important? Why does it feel so difficult at times? How can we communicate effectively? And can we get better at it? I remember once asking, what makes us who we are? Is it our actions, our words, our thoughts, or our intentions? The answer, of course, is all of them. But two of which are seen by others, and two no one can know unless we communicate them. Communication is important because it is how our inner world meets our outer world. It's the bridge between the two. If we don't communicate well, we will often feel misunderstood and like no one really knows us or understands us. Communication is how we get our needs met. Ever since we were born, we cry to make our parents understand that we need something. And of course, our parents' responses over time to our cries of communication shape our relationship with communication. It shapes how well we communicate because we either see its value, we get our needs met, or we feel that communication is useless because no one cares to be there for us or get our needs met. Or at least that's what the child might feel. And therefore, if we feel that it is useless, we start communicating less and less. And the less we use something, the more likely for us to lose it. So here you see the impact of childhood on our communication skills. Communication, or the lack of it, can either create safety or threat. It can build trust or distance. It can be used to repair relationships or rupture them. Communication also shapes how we are seen by others. As I said, it's the bridge between our inner and outer worlds. People will judge us and form opinions about us based on our words. And of course, followed by our actions, but today we are focusing on the words part. Although communication is also with body language. But today I'm focusing on how to communicate and how to express ourselves in a way that makes others really understand us, as it's very easy to get misunderstood. In order to communicate well, we also need to be good listeners. We need to be good listeners to understand the other person's point of view, their perspective, and also what we know they already know that made them reach this conclusion. Communication happens at the listener's terms, so we need to understand the listener to a certain degree and understand their color. This is where surrounded by idiots come in handy, to be able to get the message across. So now, let's talk about communication in relationships. I believe that communication is the key to a successful relationship. We can't expect to find two people who are aligned on everything. There will be disagreements, conflicts, and disputes that need to be resolved, agreed upon, or compromised on. So they need to be addressed. Now, the way of addressing such sensitive matters matters a lot. Because simply from our way of communication, the other person may feel attacked and therefore gets defensive, and the conversation turns into a fight that ends with tears and no solutions. So how does one address important sensitive matters with their partner? First of all, you need to check in with yourself. What are you feeling? Because you might be hurt from something your partner did or didn't do. Or you might be mad at them. Or you might be anxious to address a certain topic, not knowing how your partner will take it. So name the emotion that you are feeling. Write down what made you feel that way. This helps you understand what you're going through better and then helps you when you're communicating it. You'll also need to acknowledge the importance of this to you. Usually I would say it's either that the person is important to you or a value of yours was dishonored. But here, since we are talking about your partner, they of course are important to you. But also, there might be a value of yours that got dishonored or wasn't respected. So put it into words with yourself first before you try to communicate it. Because when it comes to it, you might find that you are not able to get the message across. Especially since usually with a partner, emotions are already high. And that can get in the way of saying what you want to say. So first, know what you want to say, and most importantly, know the outcome that you want to reach. Ask yourself, what do I want? What is the ideal outcome for you? And yes, most of the time the outcome relies on both parties, but first you'll need to know for yourself what you want and what is acceptable for you, like what you can compromise on, and what is completely unacceptable. Now, of course, here I'm talking about communication when it comes to difficult topics. You don't have to go through all of this every time because, anyways, ideally, communication is always ongoing. When you have strong communication, you feel connected and safe. And even when someone needs their time alone, it needs to be communicated so that the other person doesn't take it personally or feel like they did something wrong or feel neglected or start feeling anxious and making up stories in their head. Like even being alone, which is completely fine. You have the right for your alone time, for your me time. But also communicating it makes the relationship even stronger because it makes your partner feel safe. Anyway, back to the steps. After you've done the reflection and got to the outcome that you'd like, and after you are calm and regulated enough to have the difficult conversation, you need to check in with your partner if it's a good time for them to talk. You can say, "Hey, I'd like to talk about something that bothered me. When is a good time for you?" So just in case they say now is a good time, you need to be emotionally calm to have that conversation. But also you need to accept not having the conversation right away. Ideally, your partner would suggest a time in which you are both emotionally and mentally present for the conversation. If they didn't and just said later, then you can insist on having a timeline because later is so vague. Later can be after 5 minutes or a day or a week or so on. So because it's something that is bothering you, your partner ideally wouldn't want you to sit with this feeling for long. If they didn't understand that, then make sure to communicate it even more clearly and find the time together that is suitable for the both of you. You're also not having this conversation with your partner while they're busy or working or obviously stressed by other factors. You pick your time. But you also don't push approaching them too long in which you are now feeling horrible already and the conversation will just be more emotionally fueled. Don't avoid or postpone having difficult conversations. That will just make things worse. It will build resentment and cause disconnection. Alright, next. When you do start having the conversation, start with the intention. For example, you can say, "I'm addressing this to make things better, not to fight, and I hope that we can find a solution together." Or something along these lines. Then state what happened and tell them how it made you feel. Use I statements and try to avoid you statements as much as possible. You statements can feel a bit too aggressive, like your partner might feel like they're being attacked when you say something like, "You did this." Now, I know it's tough not to use you statements at all, but reduce them as much as you can. So say, "This happened," iterate what happened, "and it made me feel like you don't care about this or that, and that hurt me because," and go on. So yes, there was a you statement here, but it's still in a gentle way. Rather than saying, "You don't care about my feelings, you keep doing this and that, you and you," which would make any person feel attacked or blamed, you're saying it as how it made you feel. And instead, you are working towards a solution rather than just blaming the other person. Next, go into your suggested solution by saying, "Can we do this instead?" Or "Can we try this instead?" And if you don't have one, then you can say something like, "Can we figure out another way together?" Now, during such conversations, there is a lot of back and forth. There might be a lot of interruptions that can throw you off, or jokes that do the same. There might be counterattacks with other unresolved issues. There might be misunderstandings. Feelings and the ego are involved, so that alone makes it difficult to get what you want to say out. So it's not as easy as the steps makes it sound. But we anyway try to do our best by starting the conversation with our good intentions and try to make it through the rest even if the conversation took a turn. That's why we need to be clear with ourselves from the beginning so that we can bring the conversation back. And if you know that your partner interrupts a lot, then make sure to tell them to listen to you till the end and then address their issues. Of course, in most cases, that wouldn't work, but at least you would have expressed that you're bothered by their interruptions so that they hopefully work on it and get better at it. Same goes for jokes. If you know that your partner jokes a lot and would throw a conversation off with jokes, then make sure to tell them beforehand that you'd like to talk to them about something serious or sensitive, and you would appreciate if they took it seriously as well. Again, this might not work completely, but they might be a bit more mindful. And if you didn't manage to say what you needed to say in the conversation, then you can resort to writing them a message. A message with all these steps can be a strong stepping stone to have better communication. Now, if your partner brings in other unresolved issues, then these issues require their own time to be discussed. Try to keep it as one issue at a time so that it doesn't become a fight and blows up and no issues get resolved as a result. Now, if the issue is related and small, then you can discuss it as well to find a solution, but don't let it derail it from the main issue at hand. Now, if you feel that your partner misunderstood you during the conversation, then you can say something like, "I feel misunderstood. What I'm trying to say is 1, 2, 3. And try reiterating to make sure you understood your partner by saying something like this. "So correct me if I misunderstood, but what I understand is 1, 2, 3. Remember to accept and validate your partner's feelings. They have the right to feel however they are feeling, and make sure to take responsibility and accountability for your shortcomings. This goes, of course, for both parties. And to move towards solutions, ask supportive questions like, "How can I help you with this?" End the conversation with appreciation and a hug. Even if you don't reach a solution and don't agree on the topic, make sure to end it with love. Ending it with appreciation, like "Thank you for sharing," "Thank you for listening," or "Thank you for understanding," makes you feel connected and safe, as in this disagreement doesn't affect the love that you have for each other. Now, I know I went into a lot of details here, but that's because this is where communication is the toughest, but also the most important. Lack of communication on important topics will slowly end the relationship. So don't allow it to get there and work on your communication instead. Now, when it comes to friendships and the scenario that I mentioned in the previous episode, in which the friend needs to know when to be supportive and when to be honest, and how to communicate that honesty in a way that preserves the friendship, then again, you'll need to start with the intention. For example, "I'm telling you this because I love you or value you and want the best for you. And this is just my opinion. I might be wrong." And then you would need to choose your words to not sound like you're attacking them. So you also need to avoid you statements. Then you may suggest what you think they can try instead. I say suggest here and not tell them what to do, because really we don't have the right to tell anyone what to do. But if they are asking for it, then you may suggest or simply ask them about the options that they currently have, because your options may be completely different than their options. And here we are talking about when your friend is telling you about their issue. It's not an issue between the two of you. If there is an issue between the two of you, then you can follow the same previous steps, which are 1. Reflect and figure out what you want. 2. Ask for a good time to talk. 3. Start with the intention. 4. State what happened. 5. Express how it made you feel and avoid you statements. 6. Suggest a solution. 7. End it with appreciation. Going through conflicts and resolving them with a friend makes the friendship stronger. And the way to resolve these conflicts or issues is through communication. Now I know communication doesn't come easy to all, but we can gain it and improve our communication skills by practicing them. Because communication builds or breaks trust. Trust isn't built by perfection. It's built by clarity, consistency, repair, and emotional honesty, and everything that we spoke about during the last episode. Now, when communication is unclear, dismissive, or defensive, people stop sharing, resentment grows, distance increases. But when communication is open and repair-oriented, then safety grows, vulnerability increases because you feel safe to be vulnerable, and relationships deepen. Trust really lives in communication. And communication is your way to repair relationships because rupture is inevitable in all relationships, but repair is optional. Without communication, hurt stays stored in the body. Stories form in our heads, and disconnection hardens. With communication, pain gets named, responsibility gets taken, ideally and hopefully. Connection gets restored. This is true for couples, for friends, for parents and their children, for leaders and their teams, and really with any relationship out there. So are you convinced to work on and practice your communication skills now? That's it for me today. I hope that this episode helps you in communicating better to build and keep trust in your relationships. And as usual, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out by email and Instagram. And yalla, I'll see you next time.